David is enjoying in New Orleans. No shortage of speeches. Here's one from Newt Gingrich last night at the Southern Republican Leadership Conference. He had some ideas for how Republicans should be casting themselves in the future. Take a listen.
We should decide we're going to be the party of yes. And we should say Republicans can say yes to a balanced budget through controlled spending. Republicans can say yes to more jobs through tax cuts. Republicans can say yes to balancing the federal budget without a single penny of tax increase by reforming government. Republicans can say yes to stopping the crooks from taking money from Medicaid and Medicare.
And we're joined now from Washington Post, Chris Cillizza, the author of the Fix blog over at WashingtonPost.com. And Chris, a big news day here in Washington all of a sudden. Your reaction, first of all, to the Stevens retirement. What is this going to do both to the president's agenda as well as to the campaign that we're in the middle of right now?
Well, you know, Rick, I think it's going to change the president's agenda, or at least change the conversation. The president is going to have to dedicate time to this. As anyone who's been through one of these before, and I know David, myself, and you have all done this. This is kind of a blot out the sun event in the Washington press corps. Who's he going to pick? Then once he picks that person, what's it going? What are Republicans saying? What are Democrats saying? So I think we're now looking at a several month, if not longer, time when this issue dominates everything. The one point I think is important is this potentially has the ability to motivate both parties' bases. The Republican Party's base voters feel no more strongly about any issue than they do about the courts. Now, presumably, the president is not going to pick someone that the Republican base likes. This will fire them up. The question is, will it also fire up that Democratic base? That's been one of the problems for Democrats. We saw it in 2009 in Virginia and New Jersey. We saw it in Massachusetts. Republican base very excited, Democratic base less enthused. Can this enthuse Democrats in the same way that we're probably near certain that it's going to enthuse Republicans?
Right. We saw a little bit of a goosing in the Democratic enthusiasm after health care in some of the polling, Chris, but you're right. That's a big issue in this midterm cycle. I do want to turn to the midterms for a moment. You heard the remarks there from Newt Gingrich, Chris, from last night down here at the Southern Republican Leadership Conference. This idea that he wants to do away with the party of no label. A, it seems to me that he's suggesting Democrats have had some success getting that label to stick. And B, he's trying, it seems, to coach along the Republican Party maybe to put a positive agenda forward, not unlike his 1994 routine, right?
Well, first, David, I'm sorry I'm not down there with you. I was planning to go and had to cancel at the last minute, and I had literally my entire restaurant week planned in New Orleans, so I'm bummed I'm not down there.
I'm bummed you're not here, too.
On the contract with American, can Gingrich massages? I do think that, look, I think Newt Gingrich wants to run for president. He got into the presidential race in 2008 for about 15 minutes before he got out, but I do think he harbors presidential ambition. I think many people in the upper echelons of the party don't view him as a presidential candidate, but rather as kind of a message guru, a guy who, say whatever you will, put together a document in 1994 that helped coalesce people behind a Republican message. I think they would like to have Newt Gingrich play a similar role, that big message doctor, heading into 2010 and then obviously into 2012. The question is that what Newt Gingrich wants to do or not? And we all know that Newt Gingrich does what Newt Gingrich wants to do.
Chris, Bart Stupak announced his retirement today. Actually, just at this hour, he's announcing he's stepping down. We had on the program a couple weeks ago Chris Van Hollen, the chairman of the DCCC, who said health care is not going to cost any Democrats their seats in 2010. Here you have someone who's getting out because of the pressure he got over health care. What does this mean really for Democrats more broadly, beyond just this one seat that people like Stupak have to get out of the way?
Sure. Democrats and the Stupak folks are doing everything that they can to say this has nothing to do with health care. Now, I'm not saying this is all about health care, but it's hard for me to believe that the vitriol that was directed both from the left and the right towards Stupak didn't have some role. Now, I do think he was probably thinking about what he wanted to do next anyway. He had thought about running for governor before deciding he didn't want to do that, but it had to play a factor. So from a big symbolic point of view, it's not great. You had the guy who was sort of the figure that emerged in the House on health care, for good and for bad, deciding not to run again. Republicans are already trying to use this to show that Democrats are running from this bill. So symbolically, I think it is not a wonderful thing. Democrats, I think, we're really hoping to make it through this week, the last week of recess before Congress comes back, without any more retirement.
All right, Chris Cillizza, the Fix blog at WashingtonPost.com. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Chris. That does it for this edition of Top Line. Be sure to tune into This Week on Sunday. Secretary Gates and Clinton.
Plus Rudy Giuliani. It's a great lineup as always. We'll be live tweeting at The Note. Stay in touch.